The motion picture, like other arts, is a vehicle of creative expression, and no study of the humanities is complete without including the medium. Of all the arts, cinema is the most collaborative, involving many contributors. In film, as on stage, conventions are conditions that audiences agree to accept as real. They include sound, the camera, color, time, and so-called challenging conventions. This chapter opens with a list or elaboration on this list. Take time to study any of the terms in this section that are new to you. Moving on, regarding some early milestones. In 1824, Peter Marc Roget presented his theory of the persistence of vision with regard to moving objects, showing that people do not lose visual continuity when they blink. Give it a try. This led to Edison's invention of the peep show, seeing figures in motion by turning a handle, and eventually the motion picture projector. Pioneers in filmmaking include D. W. Griffith, who was a complex figure, on one hand a brilliant film innovator using sophisticated cuts, close-ups, lingering takes, and skillful editing. On the other hand, he was a protagonist justifying the actions of the Ku Klux Klan. The Russian filmmaker Sergei Eisenstein carried film editing to a whole new level. The Odessa Steppe sequence in the film The Battleship Potemkin is still studied in film schools and would influence the most famous elongated moment in film history, that is the shower scene in Hitchcock's Psycho. Max Sennett was a pioneer in the art of slapstick. He used speeded-up frames to make movements funnier. Slapstick was a name for the sound effect of two sticks being slapped together off-screen to imitate the delivery of a blow. Charlie Chaplin was the first international film star. He developed his technique while working for Max Sennett. Chaplin needed a costume for one scene early on and chose that of the Little Tramp, which became his signature outfit from then on. He went from silly farce to creating a genuine character of the social misfit, funny and poignant at the same time. The Marx Brothers dominated the comic scene from the 1930s and into the war years of the 1940s. They were exactly what a jittery nation suffering from depression and pre-war anxieties needed. Like Chaplin, each one of the trio developed a fixed comic persona, and their movies revolved around them. Their masterpiece was, or is, A Night at the Opera. The animated film has had an enduring appeal. Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in 1936 was the first full-length animated feature. Animation technology today is much more significant, of course, and has resulted in movies of all ages, or movies that all ages can enjoy, including Ratatouille in 2006 and Up in 2009. Film noir is a film genre in which the action usually takes place at night. The protagonist is usually a disillusioned cynic, but not without an ethical side. An example is the Humphrey Bogart persona in The Maltese Falcon. The heyday of romantic comedy was the Depression era of the 1930s and early 1940s. But more recently, Woody Allen's Annie Hall, 1977, has been described by critics as the first modern romantic comedy. Unlike many romantic comedies, it does not have a traditional ending. In Rob Reiner's When Harry Met Sally, 1989, Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal engaged in sharp repartee where true gender equality is achieved. Jason Reitman's Up in the Air, 2009, represents a much more cynical view of romance than earlier romantic comedies. And finally, here, in this list, as with romantic comedies, the heyday of screen musicals was the 1930s and into the early 1950s. Most of these screen musicals had formula plots that were simply excuses for songs and dances. The standout in the genre was Singin' in the Rain in 1952, with a believable basic situation, fleshed out characters who talked like real human beings, and songs and dances germane to the plot. Recent screen musicals may make ample use of advanced cinema technology. Rob Marshall's Chicago, 2002, transferred the Broadway hit to the screen. Major film genres continued, takes us to the Western, which was popular, again, from the 1930s to the early 50s, predominantly. A classic confrontation between good guys and bad guys characterizes what we know of as the Western, within the inevitable triumph of the good. Fred Zinnemann's High Noon, 1952, with the iconic Gary Cooper as the actor, rises to the level of screen art. The shootout is one of the most memorable scenes ever filmed in a Western. More recent standout Westerns are Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and Dances with Wolves, starring Kevin Costner. Next, films centering on social issues. The Depression years of the 1930s inspired more than just escapist entertainment. John Ford's The Grapes of Wrath is a movie classic of 1940. It dealt with the rights of the itinerant workers during the Depression. And again, more recently, an example includes Spike Lee's biographical film Malcolm X in 1992. And his other films feature tough-minded social criticism as well. Documentaries include Michael Moore's Bowling for Columbine, which is a powerful plea for tough gun control laws. Certainly a relevant topic in our world today. So-called docudramas about artists, perhaps suffering artists, include The Agony and the Ecstasy about Michelangelo. Films based on popular literary works include adaptations of works by Hemingway and Thomas Hardy. Two American film classics appearing within a year of each other are Citizen Kane and Casablanca. Citizen Kane was not a box office success when it first opened, but has grown in stature throughout the years until it ranks at the top of many lists of the best films of the 20th century. Casablanca, set during World War II, became a powerful story of a man's ethical dilemma. Film auteurs, from the French word auteur or author, has been applied to significant and highly influential directors. A list of prominent auteurs includes Ingmar Bergman, Federico Fellini, Alfred Hitchcock, Akira Kurosawa, Stanley Kubrick, and Francis Ford Coppola. A word about critical viewing. The following criteria will allow you to recognize the choices made by filmmakers and help you evaluate the merits of a particular film. They include the use of a style unique to cinema, characters with complex inner lives, relevance to the times, integrity, gravity of theme, no violations of probability, realistic depiction of gender. We'll discuss this list in class on Wednesday. As always, familiarize yourself with the key terms listed at the end of the chapter, and don't forget to read the Take a Closer Look section. We'll be discussing it as well, along with the following discussion points regarding the roles of women and minorities in films, and directors like Hitchcock, Kubrick, and others. So again, thanks for listening.